Yes. What's happening, people? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another post-game match reaction and player ratings with your boy CJ from the Gunners Corner. And it is going to be a good one. It's going to be a positive one as Arsenal Football Club went to Sporting Lisbon in Portugal and got the business done and got the job done. 1-0 to the Arsenal, famous away victory in Europe in the Champions League quarterfinal stage. And you have to say that's much better from Arsenal. Now, I say much better in terms of result, in terms of a feel-good factor, in terms of what that means and what that's going to do to give the players a lift after two cup exits, right? We lost the Carabao Cup final and we've lost the FA Cup final and we've gone into another competition, the Champions League, and we've done well for the first leg. And hopefully we've put one foot in the semi-final. Maybe it's too early to say. And much better from Mikel Arteta. We have to say that the game plan was spot on and the substitutions worked. And it's one of those ones where, look, when the result doesn't go our way, you look at the performance and say, stinky performance. What is the manager doing? What's Arteta doing? But when the result does go our way, it looks brilliant, right? It looks like a top quality performance. Well, not top quality performance. It's a top quality result. Let's put it that way. And some would say, masterclass in the way that Arteta got the job done because, he set out with a mission. He set out to go there and make it difficult for Sporting. We kind of we act and we move like a boxer, right? Or two boxers just sparring, and no one's gonna throw the first punch. We're kind of jostling for a position, or even a game of chess, right? Who's going to make that first move? And our plan going away from home in the Champions League is to make sure we stay in the tie, right? We have the second leg at the Emirates, and I think the game plan would have always been to stay in the tie, do what we need to do, don't do anything still silly, don't give anything away, stay in it. And we need to bring something back to the Emirates, and we did more than that. We didn't just hold on for a stinky 0-0 to take back to the Emirates. In fact, we won the game 1-0 first leg. I don't think Arteta would have asked for him for much more, right? And again, these are the games where, um, again, when we have performances the way we did, because let's be honest, let me just say how it is. The performance again wasn't great, but in Europe, in cup competitions in the knockout rounds, the result is more important. The result is the most important thing. And if it helps you progress, no one's going to look back at a specific quarterfinal stage on, I don't know, April, whatever day it is, 6th, 7th, and say, hey, look, on that day, in the quarterfinals, you guys played poor. All that people care about is that we're in the hat for the next round, if that's what's to be. And we put ourselves in a great position with that first leg win. So, all the credit to the boys and Mikel Arteta. Again, Arteta would have done what he intended to do, which was just make it difficult for them. And they started out really hot, Sporting. In the first 5, 10 minutes, they were on to us, and we had to weather a storm. But that's typical when you go away from home in Europe. You have to sort of calm down the crowd, calm down the momentum, the emotions of the team, and just make sure you stay in it. And we could have easily conceded in that first 10 minutes, but obviously they had an effort that went off the crossbar with that ball in behind from Diomande, beautiful ball from the center back. But after that, we saw it out, and again on another day we could have conceded early, but that's the margins that we play with, right? We're resolute. Obviously, opposition is always going to get a chance. But I think what you saw in this game was the difference that a top quality world-class goalkeeper makes in David Raya. That's who we're talking about right now, ladies and gentlemen. David Raya, no doubt about it, for me is world class. I think that he's proved it, and have we missed him in these last two games in the cup final, right? It's Carabao Cup, FA Cup. Would the results have been different if David Raya was there? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd be curious to know what you guys think about that. But yeah, that's the best place to start. I mean, let's get into the player ratings. Again, you're looking at David Raya. We're starting in goal, obviously, with the player ratings from back to front, and you're looking at David Raya and saying these kind of performances and what Mikel Arteta looks for when you go away from home and you want to, control the tempo of the game and you want to be measured and confident and quality in possession and just sort of the playing style that we play with. David Raya is crucial to that. Absolutely crucial, right? The way he gives the rest of the team confidence, right? It's not just the shot stopping. Obviously, that effort that I'm talking about where the ball hit the crossbar, in the first 5, 10 minutes or so off of that Diamande ball in behind. David Raya, make no mistake, David Raya gets fingertips on that to tip it onto the crossbar. It's just an absolutely phenomenal save, and it's one that he's more than capable of. We've seen it time and time again. His reflexes, his agility is second to none, man. David Raya, sometimes you don't know what you have till it's gone. And these last two games that David Raya has been out and Kepa's been in, you've really just seen the difference in quality. And again, it's not just his shot stopping, it's just, his high line, right? When the ball's played over the top and David Raya comes rushing out of goal to clear it or to, you know, um, get there before the forward player running onto it. His positioning and reading of the game is just so much better, obviously, than Kepa's, right? And you can't ask for much more from him. I think this game really showed everything about him from, distribution to, again, reading of the game when it comes to sweeping things, sweeping balls over the top and coming out of your box at the right time, shot stopping. It's just everything. It's the composure, and again, he just instills confidence in the rest of the team. At the back line, and me as a defender, playing as a defender myself, I can confidently say that when you're playing with a goalkeeper that you don't trust or isn't, as good as your first choice goalkeeper or isn't as commanding in his box or you're not confident with shot stopping or can't play with the ball out of the back, it makes a difference to your play as an outfield player and your confidence level to either trust the keeper when he gets the ball or, it makes you a little bit panicky or nervous on the ball. You're desperate to get shots blocked and get in front of the shots to block them because you don't trust that your keeper's even going to maybe save them. So it makes a big difference to the whole team, it really, really does. And I think that kind of makes me think that, I don't know what you guys think. I'd love to know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. David Raya might be our most important player. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But David Raya, for me, it might be Arsenal's most important player. I think that's what I'm coming to realize, right? The importance of just, again, the style of play stems from him and how we play out of the back. Again, the ability to use him as the extra outfield man because he's so good on the ball. Defenders have no problem recycling the ball, giving it back to Raya, and then we go again. Um, and that's when we're in possession and open play. He can actually, play the ball through the lines better than a lot of our outfield players at the moment. Um, so it's just that composure and calmness and open play on the ball that he gives us when we can just easily give the ball back to him, recycle and go again. Again with ability to break lines, balls over the top. He epitomizes how we play, when you want to play with that controlled, composed, possession-based football. Um, yeah, we obviously can't play that way with Kepa. It's a lot more nervy. It's a lot more, rushed. It's a lot more, t timid, I would even use. You can tell, so I think, the confidence that he gives David Raya gives the rest of the team second to none. Um, and again, for me, just simply world class and again, our most important player. But let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know, drop some likes and sorry, drop some commentary on that and let me know. I'd be curious to know what the community thinks. David Raya's rating, though, I think man of the match, deservedly so. And I think his rating is quite high, to be honest with you. I'm going to give him an 8.5. 8.5, I think is fair for David Raya. A couple good saves again in the second half as well, but just the overall calmness, man, and composure is I just love to see it from him. But yeah, David Raya 8.5. Ben White, I think Ben White had a little bit of a tricky game. Well, at least the first, sorry, let me rephrase that. The first openings of the 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. But there's a couple times throughout where Ben White, he just, he's out of position, right? When the ball's over the top or the opposition, in this case Sporting, switches the ball to their left channel, our right back area. Sometimes Ben White is just out of position. He's caught ball watching and he's nowhere to be found and he's watching the ball and loses his man. And I kind of feel like that's what happened for the first chance I hit the crossbar in the first 5, 10 minutes of the game where Diamande played the forward and behind. Yes, albeit it's a fantastic ball. Sometimes, when the ball's hit that well and it's such a perfect pass, it's very difficult to defend such a great, perfectly timed ball and behind. However, again, I think Ben White's just a little bit too slow to react. You know what I mean? I think, and not just in that instance, but a couple times throughout the game, that was one of their danger areas in the first half was their left channel, which is our right back area because I think Ben White, the guy had acres of space, their forward, whoever was out there, whether it was their left back or their left forward acres of space out there at times, and Ben White is rushing back to recover because he's lost track of the man, whether again he's ball watching or whether um, he's just not switched on. But yeah, Ben White, he had to ride that wave in the that first half, especially. I think he settled down more in the second half, but I think positioning and just keeping track of your man, I think he struggled with that to open the game. And that was the one in the starting 11 that I did get wrong in my pre-match predictions. I did say Mascara would start just to give White a rest, but it looks like we're trying to play White into form. Again, after that, he did settle down Ben White. He was part of a back line that kept a clean sheet. So listen, a couple of times, he wasn't on the same wavelength with Madueke either when going forward. I think they're still building that relationship. Um, obviously Ben White has the best relationship with Saka, but overall, I think Ben White just needs to get back into match rhythm, proper match rhythm. He is a quality player, there's no doubt about it, who's a bit out of form and just rusty, right? Hasn't had the game rhythm that he once upon a time did for us. So, yeah, Ben White, I think let's give him I think it's fair to give him a six. It's fair enough. Saliba, I give Saliba a seven right off the bat. Actually, I'll give both center backs sevens. Both Saliba and Gabriel did well, kept clean sheet. Um, kept the Suarez boy, Luis Suarez 2.0, kept him quiet relatively, handled him well. If there's any center backs you want to be able to, marshal a striker and nullify them out of the game, it's these two, right? Saliba and Gabriel, and I'm going to give them a joint rating. I'm going to give them both sevens. I'm going to give them 7.5 each because again, this is a Sporting side who undefeated at home, I think in 14 games or on a good run of form in the Champions League on their home patch. And obviously all competitions on their home patch, they're very, very strong. Again, that Luis Suarez striker is banging form. I think he's picked up where Gyökeres has left off for them, 30 goals plus. So yeah, Saliba and Gabriel, I think I'm going to give them both a 7.5. I think that's deserved, to be honest with you, for the way we kept a clean sheet and ushered them out, ushered their striker out of the game, frustrated him a bit. So credit to both of them. Solid performances, both back in the mix together in Europe. Solid to go away from home and keep a clean sheet. 7.5 for the both of them. Calafiori at left back, I'm going to give him a six, similar to Ben White. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh with those ratings, but I thought a couple times Calafiori, one-on-one defensively, sometimes it leaves a little bit to be desired. Um, I think Calafiori is another player who, the first half of the season, he had a great run of form, playing week in, week out. He was keeping fit. But since he's, had that disrupted injury, I think midway through the season, he's been in and out of the team. Hincapié has taken his place, but now he's back in. And, I think the first half of the season, he looked so assured defensively one-on-one Calafiori. But for me in this game, he looked a little bit out of sorts at times, not throughout, but at times on the defensive end. I mean, going forward didn't offer too much as we usually have seen from him, in previous games and when he's at his best. But defensively, a couple times, a couple times late to the ball, late to the challenge, gives a foul away. Um, One-on-one again, I think, a couple times where, the opposition forward, especially in the second half, got to the byline and fooled Calafiori or beat him. Calafiori went to ground trying to block the tackle and, the forward, dummied him and fooled him and pretty much beat him down the line and got the cross into the box. Didn't lead to much, if anything. Um, but again, just a couple times on the outside, Calafiori getting twisted up a little bit. We saw it against Southampton as well on the weekend. Poor defending, which led to their second goal for Southampton. So Calafiori needs to get back to that more solid, structured, rugged one-on-one defending. Winning his duels, winning his battles, not getting beat too easily on the inside or the outside. Overall, I'm going to give him a Calafiori a six because again, we didn't see the best of him going forward, but defensively as well. A couple times, like I said, giving a couple silly fouls away as he does from time to time, and the one-on-one defending, a little bit shaky at times. But listen, six is fair enough, I think. In midfield, Zubimendi wasn't his best game. He had a goal that he scored that was ruled out for offside, correctly so. It was a good finish. But Zubimendi, I don't think it was his best game. There's a couple times where, he was a bit slow in possession and got caught out from behind, whether his teammates are not yelling man on or, his overall awareness of the game in that moment. He's getting caught in possession a couple times. Um, so the game kind of bypassed him. I don't think, we haven't seen the best of Zubimendi for quite a while now. He is a player tiring. He is in his first season with Arsenal, demanding to come into a team, that's battling on all fronts and in your first league and a foreign league and stand out. We don't see that too often. So you give him a bit of a break, but he has kept himself in the team. He's been fit for the most part throughout, and he's going to be important. He avoided a booking because I believe he was the only player in our starting 11 who was on a yellow card. Um, like a yellow card accumulation sort of caution there. So didn't get booked, so he will be there for the next round, the next game, sorry, second leg at the Emirates. Um, but yeah, I'm also going to give him I'm going to give him a six. I don't think it was his best game, Zubimendi. Um, again, the game just kind of bypassed him. Um, wasn't horrible, right? Wasn't bad, but I don't think six is a bad rating. Five is that rating in the middle, right? Where it's a completely average performance. So I'm going to say he was just above average, and I'm going to say, similar to Ben White and Calafiori, that Zubimendi was a six. Um, Declan Rice back in the team, you see exactly what this guy brings. He's just top quality, Declan Rice, man. And, yes, there's arguments that he can go forward a little bit more, and he can play the ball forward a little bit more. We need maybe more of a forward-thinking number eight who can play the balls through the lines and play that defense playing pass. But as an all-around midfielder, there's no question, this guy is top quality for us. And again, his ability to read the game when the likes of Calafiori or whoever goes forward, Declan Rice just drops in and covers and sweeps everything up. Um, he's just a top quality all-around midfielder. And yes, like I said, he doesn't play the Fabregas-esque line-breaking passes, but he's technically sound in everything. Jack of all trades in that midfield. He can do it all. He can play passes, he can spray, he can score goals. Yes, we don't see those often enough, but he can do it. And then on the defensive end and his ability to cover up ground, there's just no, he's second to none, right? So yeah, we missed him. Obviously in the FA Cup, you saw you saw exactly what he can do. Declan Rice when he's in the team and versus when he's not on the team. Southampton, our midfield was completely wide open. But with Declan Rice, he just covers everything up, covers all blades of grass. He's a captain, he's a leader out there. He's commanding, wins his duels, talks to his teammates, and just he's another player for me who just settles everything down when he's in the team, and the rest of the team feels more confident with him in there as the heartbeat. So I think it was a seven. Good performance from Declan Rice back in the team. Martin Odegaard, um, I don't think it was great from Martin Odegaard. I'm gonna give him just under a six. I'm gonna give him a 5.5, and I'll tell you why. Like I was disappointed with Odegaard again because he's just not very positive in his play at the moment. Like I'm not gonna be fooled anymore to think that when he gets on the ball and looks busy, he means he's playing well. Like, yes, he gets on the ball and yes, he is tidy in possession for the most part. A couple neat touches, he collects the ball and gives us that element of control. But when we need to play the ball forward, when we need to get close to our striker and get close to our forward players, Odegaard is collecting the ball off the center back. He's playing closer to our center back than he is to our striker, and he's our quote unquote number 10 or attacking eight. How does that work? That you get more touches with the center back and with the goalkeeper than you do with the striker. You're supposed to be up there with Victor Yoker as the striker. The striker is completely isolated because he doesn't have any attacking midfield players getting next to him or getting close enough to him. How much service did Gyökeres get? He was starved of service, and that's supposed to be Odegaard's role. You're supposed to be that main creator in chief. But too many times, he's collecting the ball off of the back line and in our own third when we need you higher up the pitch. Let Zubimendi, let Rice do that. Why are all three of our midfielders constantly collecting the ball off of the center back or off the goalkeeper? Somebody's got to be in a midfield sense, somebody's got to be up there as an attacking outlet close to our striker and to our forwards, because there's just that disconnect at the moment. And that's where we missed the likes of an Eze, to be honest with you. Um, but listen. Odegaard, yeah, he didn't again for what we're expecting him to do in the team, be the creator in chief and the outlet going forward, the connection from back to front. We didn't really see that much that connection. He just that safe sideways and backwards passing that um, spinning around on the ball and just kind of looking busy and getting going side to side with it. It's not doing much to help penetrate and damage the opposition and be positive with forward thinking line breaking passes or creative passes and behind balls over the top. It's just we're not seeing that from him, and I'm disappointed with that. So listen, there's conversations to be had about in the summer what we do in that position if we get a more creative uh number 10 essentially. Because Odegaard just isn't that a creative spark for us at the moment. I'm being honest when I say that. Eze maybe is that guy. Maybe we don't need to go out and get an expensive player in that position if we have an Eze. But Odegaard at the moment is just not doing it in that sense. I was underwhelmed with this performance. Came off in the 70th minute. I'm gonna give him a 5.5. Um, yeah, 5.5, just above average, but only just by a point 0.5. Front three, Victor Gyökeres up top. Again, starved of service, man. I feel bad for almost. I'm gonna give him a 5.5 as well. And to be honest with you, that's not because of anything he did too wrong per se. He barely got the ball, the guy. No real service. Um, yeah, didn't really do much. Part of that, yeah, it's part of maybe it's a sympathy rating because again, he didn't get the ball much. I think he had one shot in the second half. I don't remember him getting any more other shots off. Um, but yeah, just a guy who's completely starved of service. This wasn't a game for him. We were never really going to be, the way we were playing the game and approaching the game was never going to be all out attack anyways, especially not in that first half. And yeah, I felt like he was isolated up there at times, won a couple fouls. But didn't do much, didn't get to do much in this game, which is a shame going back to his former club. Maybe he would have wanted more of an impact, but I'm giving him a 5.5. Um, Madueke came off in the 76th minute, I believe. Tried to get at his guy, his fullback a few times. That was a good battle between him and the left back. And I think, in the end, he got the better of him. He got the better of the left back at times. The left back sometimes, also got the better of Madueke. So sort of back and forth. He was the only player from an attacking standpoint, especially in that first half, who was going to look to make something happen for us, and run at defenders and cause problems and get in behind but yeah, it wasn't anything really super special from him. A couple good runs, but I think 6 from Madueke because he was the most positive of our forward players. But again, this didn't really seem like a game for our forward players, to be honest with you. But left back should have been booked, arguably, because Madueke was, constantly running at him and was drawing a few fouls. The left back got away with it, but again, not much more outside of that. Um, did hit the crossbar off of a corner kick, Madueke, but yeah, not much else. I think a 6 is a fair enough rating. Trossard, I think, was the worst of our outfield players, maybe alongside of Odegaard. I'm going to give Trossard a 5, to be honest with you. Just didn't do much at the moment, and we'll get on to the subs in a second. But, when you see a performance like that from Trossard, it's kind of like, we call for him to be back in the team and drop Martinelli. And then when Trossard plays, it's like, oh, well, you don't give us anything. So, now we want Martinelli back in the team. And when Martinelli starts, it's again, same kind of thing. Martinelli's poor, doesn't give us much, and then you ask for Trossard to come back. So again, said it for a while, we have a problem at left back. We need to figure out how we're going to address that. Sorry, left back. We have a problem at left wing. We need to figure out how we're going to address that in the summer. We need a permanent full-time left winger between in between Martinelli and Trossard. If not both of them, somebody has got to be sold, and we got to look to recoup some funds to bring in a top quality left winger who's going to be the permanent solution week in, week out. None of this stop start, who starts, who doesn't. That's what we're doing at the moment with Trossard and Martinelli, and it's the best of a bad bunch selection. Neither of them are pulling up any trees. So 5 for Trossard. But we get onto the subs, and it was a brilliant triple substitution in the 70th minute. Well, they didn't all come on at the same time. Havertz came on in the 70th, Max Dowman and Martinelli in the 76th. And those are the only 3 subs we made in the game. And yeah, what substitutions they were. I mean, credit to Mikel Arteta. Havertz will start with his rating. I think Havertz, when you look at it, I'm gonna give him what do I give him? Give him a 7. Give him a 7. I'll give him a 7.5. He's the match winner. Wins the game for us. So I think if I give, Gabriel and Saliba similar ratings, um, yeah, I think 7.5 for Havertz is fair. He won the game for us. That first touch, man, is immaculate. It's not easy to get that right. In that position, the keeper could be rushing out. You have that in the back of your mind. It's easy to fumble that first touch coming out of the sky, when you're in the box like that, pretty much almost in the 6-yard box, and take your first touch off on your quote unquote weaker foot, trap it down, and the composure to finish it. all around just exquisite technique from Havertz. And I think again that wins us the game. And we're seeing the importance of Havertz in these games. He's a big game player. In the last round against Leverkusen, he stepped up and scored the penalty in the first leg that got that one to 1-1. And again, this one, first leg of the quarterfinal, he wins the game for us with a brilliant goal, technique for the first touch and composure for the finish. That's top quality. Poor defending on their end, but Havertz had to do the rest. And yeah, match winner 7.5, good impact from him. That's what you want to see. 7.5 is my rating for him. Um, Max Dowman and Martinelli. Let's start with Max Dowman. Didn't do much. I'm going to give him a standard five. Max Dowman ran at the defender a couple times, the left back, drew a couple players towards him when he was getting on the ball. But yeah, not much time to make that much of an impact. So standard five for him. Martinelli, again, another one of those things, like I said, where you see him come off the bench and get an assist like that, and you're thinking, start him next game over Trossard, and then he starts Martinelli, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like get this guy out the team because it's just poor running the ball out of play in that. But no, in this game, again, Champions League, maybe Martinelli is a different player in the Champions League. Comes off the bench and gets a quality assist. Something it's a little bit unlike Martinelli, in the way that he didn't try and go on the outside with his head down. He came on the inside, fronted up his defender, um, got past the second one to drive in towards the center of the pitch. Finally looked up and played a brilliant ball that was perfectly weighted to Kai Havertz over the top, that caught out their defense completely. And again, what a ball it was from Martinelli. Did well, scoops it over the top, and then Kai Havertz does the rest. And again, Martinelli is part of the goal that wins us the match. It's all down to his a lot of his good work coming off that left wing. Again, it's nice to see some variation for him to come inside for once, not on the outside with his head down, but come in, front up your defender, beat one, kind of drive past the second one, into the open space and clip that ball over the top. So well done to Martinelli. I'm going to give him a 7 for that as well. Kai Havertz I gave the 7.5, but Martinelli gets a 7 for the assist just underneath, because Kai Havertz still had all the work to do. Um, and yeah, that's great substitutions from the manager and for Mikel Arteta himself. Again, that would have been the game plan he would have dreamed of. Don't have to play sparkling great champagne football. Keep it tight over there, and if you can nick it 1-0, do so with the impact of the subs. And brilliant to Arteta. I think you have to give him an 8 for that, the way he set up the team in that game plan. So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in and for listening. This has been the post-match reaction and player ratings with your boy CJ from the Gunners Corner. Um, like and subscribe. That really, really does help us. So we ask this all the time. Like and subscribe and hype the video as well if you really enjoyed it. And yeah, we're here thick and fast coming for you guys with content, regularly every day, every other day. We're down to the business end of the season, of course, and it's going to be more exciting stuff to come. So again, like and subscribe. It really, really does help us out. Hype the video. This has been CJ from the Gunners Corner with another post-match play rating, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, take care. We're out.